Now, we're set to evaluate the return to democratic governance in Rivers expected tomorrow, with Administrator Ibas set to hand over tomorrow. We have a lot to unpack, from security, economic recovery, institutional trust, accountability, and whether restoration will be smooth or full of friction. Joining us to tackle these hard questions and holding both Ibas's recent record and the incoming administration returning to account is Director, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CHRAN, Otuekong Franklin Isang. Thank you for joining us on the program, Otuekong.
Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, madam. Good afternoon,
Pleasure,
good to be here. It's a terrific
It's terrific. Although it only trades more if it's Tuesday.
Well,
terrific Tuesday.
It's still fine. Every day seems to be terrific.
Indeed.
For Savior.
It is.
For Savior, yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you. Civil society leaders have been looking at Rivers State and the past 6 months, and of course also projecting what the future would be like in Rivers. So I'd also like you to give us your honest and candid opinion of what the past 6 months has been like in Rivers State. Do you think it has achieved the aim that was used or was fronted as a reason we had to have a state of emergency in Rivers State? Talked about restoring peace and security in the state. It was one of the most cardinal reasons for the state of emergency. Do you think that the past 6 months in Rivers State has lived up to the expectations and hopes that led to that particular state of emergency declaration?
I would rather think that the emergency rule was not necessary in the first instance. If you look at the provisions of our Constitution, Section 305, the provisions for it to be declared, what must be present, what are the conditions that will warrant such a declaration by Mr. President. Was it visible in Rivers State instance? Was there a collapse of peace? Was there breakdown of law and order? Was there, insurgent? Was there health emergency in Rivers State? I don't think any of this played out. I think it was more of politics and political. And yes, if you want to say if it has achieved the expected aim, I will say to an extent, what was the aim that was expected? It was expected to bring political solution. That's my own submission now to the political crisis that was in the state. Now, mark my words, political crisis. It wasn't crisis that are envisaged in the Constitution of Nigeria that should warrant a declaration of emergency rule in the state. It was a political disagreement between political camps, the Minister of FCT, the Governor's team, and the House of Assembly. You have these three, actors.
But what about the threats by militants?
You call the word threat.
Facilities,
the
and
threat.
there was equally
You're using the word threat.
With all facilities.
You're using the word threat. I'm saying that our Constitution says that there must be actual collapse of peace. There must be actual breakdown of law and order. There must be, the insurgent must have taken over a territory. This is what the law says. It did not say there is a threat. What if I threaten, or what if there is a threat in the state? Yeah. You've had several threats in the Northeast. Out. Well, if you say it was carried out, what we knew was that there was no threat. There was no threat. Okay, how many persons were arrested? If there was a threat, when you had it in Gombe, in the days of former President Goodluck Jonathan, you actually saw a territory of Nigeria being taken over, local government being seized by bandits, by terrorists, and then they were dislodged. This was what led to that insurgent. That led to that rules to be declared. But then you still had the governor of the state.
There's something I want you to respond to. If you are saying that there's actually supposed to be a total breakdown of law and order, where does that leave leaders who are saddled with the task of ensuring that there's security, peace in the territories that they govern. A lot of people also believe that the president's move was proactiveness so that it doesn't get to that point that you were talking about. So where does that leave the leaders in terms of response to imminent threats and issues that could actually lead to full breakdown of law and order?
Okay, for the benefit of the doubt, it's good to even hear what because the president quoted our constitution to use it as the basis to make the declaration. Section 305 says, the president may, by official gazette, issue a proclamation of a state of emergency in the federation or any part of it. But before doing so, the president must first consult with the Council of State. One, when can it be declared? Now, the president can declare a state of emergency when A, the federation is at war. B, the federation is in imminent danger of invasion or involvement in a state of war. There is actual breakdown of public order and public safety in the federation or any part to such extent as to require extraordinary measures. There is a clear and present danger of an actual breakdown of law and order. There must be actual, not threat now. There must be, a territory must have been seized or invaded or taken over by bandits.
Is that all? I think we still have more down.
That's it. Yeah, going further, I think
it has also have economy.
Yeah, you have there is an occurrence or imminent danger of disaster or natural calamity affecting the community, like you have Ebola, you have COVID-19. You know, the government had to declare emergency that nobody will go out and then they can handle that issue. Yes. Then going down, you see, if there is any other public danger which clearly constitute a threat to the existence of the federation, the president receives a request from a governor who believes there is a breakdown of law and order. That is what it is. The governor can also request. You won't request that you be removed from office. You will be a governor to be able to request that the order be declared. That is what we are saying. So for us in the CSOs, none of these conditions were present. And so we still believe that the president acted ultra vires the law. That aside, whether it has achieved its purpose, it's a different question. I said yes, that the purpose was to bring political solution. There was an agreement between the three camps. Now there is seeming, agreement. Agreement that is seen amongst the three camps, the minister of FCT, the governor of the state, and the speaker. That agreement must have been there. But nowhere in this section of law that says that when there is a political disagreement amongst party A, party B, that the president should declare emergency rule, and then so that the parties can now be forced to accept anything thrown up as conditions to be restored back to office. So what we are seeing here is like, because maybe one party is disagreed and he controls the state, the other party has upper hand because it's in Abuja, he can now ask president, I have lost out of the state, declare emergency rule, take over the state government. Then let us now force the governor of the state to accept whatever we are putting out as conditions in order for him to be returned back to office. Don't forget that there is a matter also in court by the governors of the PDP that have gone to challenge the president, order to declare the emergency rule in Rivers State. And we have thought that by now, the Supreme Court would have made a pronouncement as to whether the president acted in line with the law or not, which is up till now has not been heard. And if it is heard, we will also be expecting that the Supreme Court should make pronouncement to the extent that the governor had a 4-year tenure in office. Now he had lost 6 months. What happens to that 6 months? Can he now be given a 6-month extension to continue after the expiration of this particular tenure of 4 years? Otherwise, you'll be having a wrong precedent where the president of the country can sit and say, because I don't have control in state A, state B, state C, I'm declaring emergency rule, put people there, they will be there after 6 months, another 6 months, and then use that rule to run the state for the next 4 years. So the court should make a pronouncement to clarify this and put it to an end. Now, as to whether it has achieved any reasonable thing for us in the CSOs, we think that nothing has been achieved. And I will say this because we believe that for the government of a state to operate without checks and balances, who oversight the activities of the person who leads the state, he ought to be the House of Assembly. So he runs the state, and then takes actions, run the budget of the state, even though they are being passed by the National Assembly, by the Senate. But the orders he takes orders from Mr. President. So the stakeholders in the state, where are they? Now, yes, the Ibokette Ibas, had been able to conduct local government election, which is what he said has been part of his achievement. We do not believe that that such a government that is not known to the Constitution can organize a government that is known to the Constitution. His office is not known to the Constitution of Nigeria in the first place. How will he be able to organize election that will bring in authorities that are known to the Constitution? For us, the election that was done by him, it wasn't necessary.
Well,
he said peace has not been achieved.
Yes.
As in the aim of the declaring a state of emergency hasn't been achieved. We've not really seen the altercation that was ongoing when we had those crises between the House of Assembly. Everybody has been going on their usual activity. And Fubara is about to return to office. So why are you saying that it's not been achieved?
Because the issues here were political issues. It wasn't breakdown of law and order. It was parties. The Fubara himself, the former governor of the state, that is the minister of FCT, and the speaker. Now, what has happened now is like a ghost peace amongst the three of them, where one person is made to have control over the other. Now, look at it. If the local election that was done by the Ibokette Ibas, regime were to be anything to go by, you can now see that the former minister or the former governor has control of 20 local government areas out of 23. So can you now say that the other camp that has lost out in the local government arrangement will be happy?
But they seem to be on board with
That's
it.
the point. So now they have now seen that they don't have the federal might to fight for them. Instead of to lost everything, they will now be coerced to accept whatever is thrown up. Now, how will you be a governor of a state, and by our constitution you are supposed to do election of local government, but you were removed, put aside on suspension, and then someone was appointed to come and stay in the office and then carry out your functions, and then put up election in the state that brought a local government chairman, and after that was done, you are now returned back to the office to come and act. You are now coming to work in the office of governor. Would the chairman that the election was done in your absence, without observing the democratic processes? What we are saying here is, in the case of future purposes, not now, this could have, this could go, but the truth is that if it goes, it would have been putting a very wrong precedent in place. We believe that election of local government council ought to be done by the governor of the state, not somebody that is being appointed by somebody else to be there, and the person act and has a SIEC that has member from other states as part of the SIEC. The chairman of the SIEC in River State is not from River State. He's from Cross River State. And he goes and sits in an indigenous board, supposed indigenous board, and then election is conducted, and at the end of the day, what even happened before that the Supreme Court nullified the first election that was done by Governor Sim was because the 90 days provision was not given. The Sim SIEC did not issue the 90 days notice that ought to have been issued to political parties for them to campaign and get prepared. It wasn't done. That was part of what the Supreme Court used and said this was non-compliance with the Electoral Act. And this also been breached.
Is there actually any rule that says that a non-indigent cannot occupy the chairmanship position of SIEC?
If you check the statute that established the State Independent Electoral Commission, it didn't say that. It says that the commission, the members of the committee, the chairman and members must be appointed by the governor and sent to the assembly of the state for screening. It didn't say that must be appointed by someone who is a sole administrator, who will not send the names to the Senate.
But in this case, there
for
was one
screening.
governor.
Good. Now, go and check it again. It is an indigenous board. It is not a federal board that will be cleared by the federal, federal, federal arm of government. Don't forget that the Senate clears Mr. President's appointee. It doesn't clear the appointees of the governors. The Assembly clears the appointees of the governor. So when you now make an appointment and forward the names for Senate to clear, it means that you are now federal appointee, and those who are cleared are federal appointees.
Otoikon, how
in the eyes of the law.
How does this throw open the conversation that has been in the polity for a while now regarding, election management at the local government level, and whether or not it should be the governor that is directly responsible for conducting these elections? Doesn't this throw open that conversation again?
You see, okay, look at what happened. If you follow the local government polls, you would have, I came here to predict that there will be voter apathy. I was here before election and I said it, that part of what I envisage, I expect to happen on that 30th of August will be voter apathy. People will not go out to vote because people of the state will not have appreciated or embraced the Ibokette Ibas administration. And it happened.
The analysts would have thought that would have been a no-brainer. Anybody could have guessed.
But you could see the vote. You could see what happened if you watch the clip. People were playing football. Normalcy was people were just going as if nothing happened because there was no campaign. The other parties had boycotted it. And in election you have stakeholders. 1, the citizens. 2, the security agencies. 3, the INEC or the CHRAN. And then 4, you have the observers, and then you have the press. I tell you that, okay, have you seen any report from the CSOs that would have gone to observe it? None, because nobody went to observe it. So Ibokette Ibas, CHRAN did election, scored themselves high, and that is it. But normally you should see CSOs going there to observe the process, come back and score whether they had done well or whether they had not. So that is what I'm saying. So all stakeholders boycotted it, only Ibokette Ibas and one party and maybe the CHRAN that did it.
Well, let's work on yesterday. The People's Democratic Party, in a statement, urged Fubarak to remain loyal to the party and that they should reject moves by the All Progressive Congress to woo him and investigate. Also asked him to investigate how Rivers State was handled throughout the period. Don't you think it's another call for trouble in the state?
I was even coming to that. The people of Rivers State had voted. They voted voted a system in place. Voted for Sim Fubarak, the deputy governor, and House of Assembly members. And by Constitution of Nigeria, they are supposed to govern the state for 4 years. The Assembly is there to oversight the governor. Like I have said here, who oversighted Ibokette Ibas for the past 6 months? Nobody. And so the call, National Assembly, have they been coming to check? Have they been coming to see projects that have been done? Ibokette Ibas, when he came on board, he said he will build the House of Assembly he will rebuild it. Has he been able to do it? That's the point. So you can see that the only thing that is achieved.
You had also re-echoed that he shouldn't meddle in administrative affairs, backing on projects.
But he has been saddled with it.
But you said he shouldn't embark on projects.
So we are the funds. That is why you now see that question that they answer. Okay, fine. Since you have now harkened to what these people are saying, don't meddle in a project. Only do the piece that you came to do. So we are the funds. So now that now calls for scrutiny of the account of the state, and then people will now be able to ask questions to know if actually he had used the funds that was released. Because before then, the local government fund was withheld based on the Supreme Court order. But soon after, the SIM was removed, the funds were released. So the question would now be, where are the funds? So I'm not saying that he has embezzled it. I'm saying that, yes, I align my thought with those who are calling for a proof of the 6 months of Ibokette Ibas, that it is in order.
What do you think are those, as they prepare for these handover notes? What do you think are those aspects?
Which handover note?
It's there. Who
will he hand over to?
What do you think are those?
Who handed over to him?
Are those areas that should be made public?
I have just told you
to reassure the citizens of Rivers State as regards how smoothly the 6 months ran.
Savior, I had told you here that the appointment of the sole administrator is not known to our constitution. That was why nobody handed over to him, and nobody he will hand over to, because his position is not known to the constitution.
So how
if
is
he
it
will
going
go
He
and
is
if
there
he's
right
supposed
now.
to, who will he hand over to?
Tomorrow, the governor, maybe.
Well, we're going to be
coming back.
what
If
will
the
play
governor-
out in
okay,
Rivers tomorrow will be interesting.
Why didn't the governor and the former minister, the former governor attend the Thanksgiving? If they actually, appreciate and they recognize his role.
Well,
It's
it's
not
less
known.
than 24 hours to find out.
I will be shocked. I will be shocked that Governor Sim will go and stand and receive handover note from Ibokette Ibas. I will be shocked.
But Chokon, do you foresee a move from the PDP to the APC? I mean, the governor Fubara.
Then, you see, the point is
talking about prediction.
There is that now. What has happened is more of intimidation. I have just used the word federal might. It's more of intimidation by the federal might. So, if tomorrow Sim Fubara decides to now join the national party, the APC, where the president belongs, nobody should be surprised, because he has been intimidated by what has happened. What has happened has never happened before in the history of Nigerian democracy, where a sitting governor that was elected can be removed, and someone that was appointed can now from the state for 6 months. Like the governor went on a break, 6-month break, and then he now comes back and then normalcy now returns. So if tomorrow the governor now defect to the party, the APC, then it means that we can now see that it was already clear. And if the governor had been in the APC, maybe this thing wouldn't have happened. You
had earlier indicated that the 6 months should be audited.
Of
but
course.
You didn't say by whom. By whom?
The government that was elected, that will take over tomorrow, should be able to ask questions, because these are the ones that have the people's mandate.
And what happens with the
funds?
The federal might you spoke of?
It is now.
Wouldn't it still be an influence?
The federal might interfering in states. It is completely wrong. That is what we are now querying. That the federal government has no right to interfere in the running of a state.
How will they now be able to probe?
We have 3-tier system of administration. The proof is very clear. You have the House of Assembly, you have the governor. Put up a panel of inquiry into the state funds, and that is done. Let the come and give account of what he has done. Let us now know how much came in 6 months, how you have used the funds. That's simple as that, because these are taxpayers' monies. It's not that it was just thrown for anybody to go.
And the federal might won't have any influences.
So are we now saying that because we have federal might, we should not breach or violate what the law says? The law is very clear that funds that is meant for projects should be used for projects. When you embezzle the fund or touch the fund, give account of it. That is the point. So I believe that by tomorrow, by the time by a function of time, the tenure of Ibokette Ibas is over, he leaves the scene. The person who was elected by the people of the state takes over. He will now constitute a committee to know how the state funds were,
You should start with that.
were used. Part of it, because you must build something on something, not something on nothing. Part of it is to know how the state fund that came in 6 months was used, and then that will now be able to enable him to know where to go. Assuming Ibokette Ibas came and funds that were released, he said they have used the funds to do road, and this road are not there, assuming. So what will happen? And then the governor now come and then say award the same road. So we should know who you gave the road to, how much was given, and how much we balance to the person. So these are very clear things. There is no witch hunt there. It's a matter of the function of democracy. Let the right thing be done. Let somebody answer questions for what he has done.
From your feelers around Rivers State, I'm sure you must have kept tabs of your fellow CSOs and what they have been doing regarding preparations for this return to democracy in Rivers State. What is the mood like for the Rivers people as tomorrow approaches?
I am in touch with the CSOs in Rivers State. The mood is as normal, usual. For us, nothing happened. For us, Sim is still the governor, had still been the governor for 6 months. The only thing is that there was intimidation. He was removed from the scene, and someone was brought in to come and do political, negotiation and political arrangement, which has been done. Now, for us in the CSOs and those in Rivers State, we expect that the moment the governor takes over, he does what we expect him to do, which is to know what happened when he was not there. Because at the end of the day, the 4-year tenure that he was elected to run, we will ask questions. So the mood of the people is that let the wave of the emergency rule be over, so that they can now be able to ask questions as to how and the real motive of what that emergency rule was all about. Whether it was meant to bring political solution, political negotiation, or whether it was actually meant to return peace to the state.
Mr. Chekon, don't you think the people of Rivers State at this time need respite from all these rank on, see how they can concentrate on governance, build the needed structures and infrastructure for the people?
The only respite that they need now is accountability and transparency. That's all they need. They are taxpayers in the state. They are the ones whose funds have been used by Ibokette Ibas, and so they need to know what is happening. So do you now say that if Governor Sim is asking questions as to the 6 months I was away, how was the state governed, that would be a witch hunt? Would that bring another political crisis?
No, of course, it's not going to be a witch hunt, but you shouldn't fully concentrate on that because there are other major...
It's part of government.
It
doesn't mean it's part of government. It's part of what he will do as government. Is to do, if government is an holistic approach, governance, that will be done. He will not say, okay, let me leave the other 6 months and focus on the remaining 1 year, 4 months. He won't say, he should just look at all. And then we ask the court to give him another 6 month extension.
Well, still relying on this last point you just made, some legal scholars are of the opinion that the governor should take a fresh oath. Others are saying it should be automatic.
No, he wasn't removed in the eyes of the law.
Well, what do you think are those steps that must be taken towards ensuring that this is strengthened legally and it's not legally shaky?
That is what we are saying. Let the Supreme Court that ought to have made a pronouncement, make its pronouncement. And I am very sure, we are very sure that the Supreme Court will not sanction that emergency rule that remove elected governor in the state. And once that happens, if the court sanctions its removal, then that would have been, an attack to democracy. That would have meant that a president will sit somewhere and remove the governor. When even the Supreme Court said that governor can't even remove a council chairman. He said so during this ruling of the Supreme Court when the federal Attorney General went to court asking questions as to how the local government funds are being managed. The Supreme Court made a pronouncement and said it is even wrong for a governor to remove a council chairman. So if that is what the Supreme Court said, then how will it now sanction a president removing a sitting governor? So, I mean, if that is now the case, where the Supreme Court now forced that position of the president, then it therefore means that in the eyes of the law, Governor Sim was not removed.
Well, it might seem as though it's the judiciary alone as an arm of government that was not entirely affected by what transpired in Rivers State. Do you think that they have a role to play currently as this democratic governance returns in Rivers State?
The role they have to play is to make pronouncements, is to make decisions that will strengthen democracy. Not only in Rivers State, now in Nigeria, because what has happened in Rivers State is a test case that could happen anywhere in the country, where you have a system of government where the president will sit and remove who he doesn't like the faces. But before now, if that were to be the case, in Akwa Ibom State during Obasanjo's government, when he was fighting for onshore offshore, Atta would have been removed by the president, who was even more, vociferous and who did not like to be criticized. But you see how the likes of Obasanjo resisting the president, fighting for resource control in the country, in the state. And you have the South-South governors who formed a forum of South-South governors asking for resource control. That is it. So if they were to be now, then it means that the president would have removed the 6 governors of the South-South zone and then get someone else to be there. But because the law does not allow that, that is why you can have a governor choosing his own course to oppose. For instance, when the Governor El-Rufai and some governors went to court to challenge the currency, tweaking by Emefiele, the Supreme Court made a pronouncement that was against the Buhari's government, that it is wrong for the currency policy to say, since you have now retweaked the currency, the new note takes effect. The court said no. The court faulted the stand of the president and the stand of the CBN and said, let the currency, the new one and the old one, be in public market till when you no longer have the old note in view. So if the court had now said, okay, fine, because the president, we don't want to offend the president, we now take side and then support the president, then stand and then nullify what the governors are asking for. That would have been a very wrong precedent. But now, up to now, you don't have the old, you still have the old note. The old note is still in circulation. So you can see that the Supreme Court is a court of public policy and also handles issues that resolve political issues.
Well, Administrator Ibas has urged both Fubara and the lawmakers that are returning to build on the seeds of the reconciliation and ensure that they harp on peace. From your standpoint now, what areas do you think that reconciliation should build upon to avert, a possible return or breakdown as what led to the current situation in Rivers?
I will advise the people of Rivers State to disregard his advice.
Well,
First of all, he's advising them as what? Is his office known to the Constitution? It's not known to the Constitution. So I will advise them, the governor that was elected, to disregard his advice. He was an appointee. Ibokette Ibas is an appointee, advising someone who was elected, advising the assembly members to.
But even an ordinary citizen can't advise.
That's the point. I say for his own advice. That he should build on what he has laid on ground. So I advise them to disregard whatever he is saying and do what is right by going to check what he has kept on ground and then know what to do.
Why would they disregard what he's saying? Because what he's saying actually makes sense.
What is implied is that when you say build on, it simply means don't check what I have done. Don't even verify. Don't even audit. Just build on and continue to go forward. So that is the point. So for me, they should just disregard him, investigate what he has done, and then move on from there.
All right, Otweko and Franklin, do you think that the return of Governor Fubara will usher in a reconciliation and development in the state?
I think he wasn't even removed in the first instance. The only thing is that
but he has not been in the same.
He has not been in the same.
Okay, let's he has not been in the
out
same.
Of the country. He is back
since
now.
He refused to accept that.
Yes, he traveled out of the country. Now he is back now. I would believe that in politics, there is a give and take spirit, right? Now, all these persons are political actors. They were in the same political family. The former governor of the state, he was also an appointee of former governor of the state, and so you have the speaker. So for me, you must be able to give and take, but not at the detriment of the people of the governance of the state. There are some things you cannot concede to. There are some things you can concede to. But if what you will concede to would lead to affecting the governance of the state, then you don't. Because at the end of the day, you be the one that will give account of stewardship. Nobody will give account on your behalf. So there are rooms for the governor to give and to refuse to give. That is to concede and to look at what to concede. Same goes to the Minister of FCT. He should also be able to have a large heart to concede and allow the governor to run the state. Same goes to those who are in the assembly. Of course, assembly that you are in assembly doesn't mean that you have the instrument to kill the governor, to force this to the governor's truth and gag the governor from operating. You should also know that you are a laborer in the vineyard of governance. So you should also work with the governor. Don't take advice from those who are outsiders now coming to advise you. Fight the governor or do this, or governor fight Mr. A or do that. But all of them should return to the drawing board and let peace become the watchword.
Well, another aspect is the role of civil society organizations like yourself, faith-based organizations and institutions that are of like mind. What steps do you think, or what roles do you think they have to play towards ensuring that the anarchy or violence situation that was experienced in Rivers State does not return? Because, that's the next conversation. Is there a possibility that what happened in Rivers would still happen again despite this 6 months hiatus that a democratically elected government was stalled? I
have issues with the faith-based organizations, the religious leaders, the churches. Yesterday, on Sunday, the Ibokette Ibas had Thanksgiving. It was in a church. You can see what the pastors were preaching, what they were saying. You see, you don't just play. You play along, play to the gallery. You accept everything. As a pastor, you should be able to be straightforward to say, this is right, this is not right. You don't just accept because you are afraid or because of what to eat. So for me, the faith-based group are not doing well. The churches are not doing well, because if they had called both parties to order, if they had intervened, not taking side, perhaps maybe wisdom would have prevailed. But them taking side, you could see pastors are even prophesying. You would be. They even see what will happen in 2027, telling somebody today, this is 2025, telling you what will happen in the next 2 years. And then that will now make you to build your hope and begin to build what ordinarily you shouldn't have in your mind. So the faith-based groups are not doing well. The faith-based NGOs, the churches are not doing well. But for us in the CSOs, we are up to the task of calling out the government, of ensuring that there is peace in the state. And we don't give a damn as to the fact that someone has violated the law. The person must, dance towards what the law says. It must dance the music. If at the end of the day, now let me tell you, like what the presidency said when they removed the governorship, they said they wanted to forestall impeachment. Impeachment not in our constitution. It's here in the constitution. That where the governor violated the laws of the land, he should be impeached, and the procedures are laid out in our constitution. So for me, I think that for us, we think that the state should be governed in line with what the law says, so that there will be peace. Now, when you violate any law, you should be made to face the music. When you commit injustice, there is always violence.
So what about the role of traditional rulers? And
the same thing happens. You see them dancing around the boy. That's the point.
The state.
That's the point. You see them dancing around both government, when they ought to be the fathers to advise. You see them taking side. In the Thanksgiving service of Ibokette Ibas, I think few of them went. Few didn't go. Now why didn't they go? Now by the time Sim returns and do Thanksgiving service, you see them few will go, and you see them taking side when they ought to be fathers to all stakeholders or all parties.
Jogan Franklin is song. Well, as Rivers returns to democratic governance tomorrow, it will not just be about the ceremonies or speeches. It will be about how institutions are willing to work, with the government, with the people calling on the government to account, and ensuring that there's synergy towards the goal of ensuring that democratic values are upheld. Thank you very much, Jogan Franklin is song, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network Director, for speaking to us in Niger Delta today.
Thank you very much for your time, Otweko.
My pleasure.
Positives to come out from Rivers State tomorrow.
No problem. We expect that to be.
Indeed.
Yeah,
well, we come full square for Niger Delta today. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you again tomorrow for another fresh edition. My name is Sergio Roberts, wishing you a terrific afternoon. Sifa.
And I am Sifonode. Good afternoon.